welcome back to my public YouTube channel. Okay, what exactly are we going to be talking about in this today's video? This is going to be an extremely important topic to understand. This truly is something that can literally set people free from many different types of bondage. Okay, many different types of mental traps even. Okay, this is something that a lot of people do not have. So clearly, if you're here right now, you're tuning in for a reason, and you are in the right place at the right time. What I'm going to be talking about in today's video is literally the most important and one of the most authentic philosophies that you can adopt within your own mindsets and use for your own evolutionary purposes. I'm really going to be discussing the concept of God and the devil. I'm going to be discussing the bigger picture of what all this is truly about. Okay? If you want to learn a little bit more about this philosophy that has taken me a very long time and has taken me a lot of experience and initiation and challenge and growth to cultivate, then this is definitely your video, so stay tuned. All right, so let's start with drawing a context. I love drawing my contexts. So most people on the planet today think this in regards to their religious philosophy. They think there is God, and then they think there is an opposer of God. There is the devil. They think God is good. They think the devil is bad. Therefore, if you're going to be someone that wants to live in an afterlife that is satisfactory in its nature, you need to worship God, because God is good. God is the creator of all things, even of the devil. So therefore, God is what is deserving of your time, energy, and worship. This philosophy that I just broke down and that I just explained is literally what I would almost say 95% of what religious people generally believe. Okay, let me say that one more time. About 95% of religious people believe this exact philosophy that I just mentioned. Okay? Now, there are some errors within this philosophy, and there are also some very deep and intentional reasons as to why people adopt that philosophy. So let's first start looking at what some of the potential errors are within this philosophy. Okay? When you look at God as being all good and being the one and only, and then you look at this other entity, which is essentially the opposer of God, we could call it the Satan, which is bad and not good and considered evil. What this is doing is this is causing you to think along the lines of dualism. It's causing you to think this is good, this is bad. Therefore, what is bad does not have a place in existence. That's a problem. This is a major hole within this philosophy, because this philosophy can breed a lot of perverted behaviors in life itself. So let's take it back a little bit. The truth is that nothing is for no reason. Even if this philosophy is real, the devil was not made by a mistake. There's a reason why the devil exists. There's a reason why Satan has an existence. This reason is what is one of the most important things to understand if you're really going to gain real knowledge and develop yourself with that knowledge. So let's start to unpack this generalized philosophy that most people have. First of all, when we look at what God is, we need to understand what we're exactly talking about. Is God Yahweh? Is God Buddha? Is God Jesus? Is God Muhammad? Is God Satan? Okay, for the Satanists out there. The answer is God is all of these things. What true God is what I like to refer to as the source. Let me say that one more time just so that you can really absorb what I'm trying to communicate. God is all of these different entities that I just mentioned. And what true God is something that I like to call the source. A generator of energy that is infinite in its nature, that has truly produced all things from itself, from its own thought. That is so vast in its nature that truly none of us can even begin to put our finger on and start to fully understand. We can get a glimpse of it. We can be influenced by it. We can have a perspective on it. But it's so vast and it's so deep that there are no real words in our language that can describe what this energy is or what this force is. This is what I consider the source. This is what I consider as God. I don't like to call it God because there's so much miscommunication when you use that word. So I like to, once again, always refer to it as the source. And that pretty much gets us right to the point. When there is a source of something, that's where it all started. And there is an energy that is the source. There is something that everything comes from. It is all and it is nothing at the same time. It has an end and a beginning, and it doesn't have an end and it doesn't have a beginning. It's all of it. Every paradox exists within this source that you could imagine, positive and negative. So when we see that there is this source that exists, now this starts to set us free from the bondage and the mental traps of thinking that this God, being this specific entity, is better than this God or this specific entity. Rather, we can now see that different entities are simply different aspects of the source itself. They are different aspects of that same entity, or excuse me, not of that same entity. They are different aspects of that same source. So when you start to study pantheism, you get to see how many gods there really are. There are people that worship a single god, and there are people that worship multiple gods. It just depends on your culture. It depends on the person that you are. Now, with the understanding that there is a source that exists that produced all these different aspects of all these different gods and entities, we can see that all these different gods and all these different entities are just simply unique aspects of that one source. Even the entities that you would consider to be wrong, bad, or evil, they are all aspects of the same exact source. Just like a positive and a negative charge on a battery is a part of the battery, think of the source as being the battery. The positive and the negative both exist on that same battery. Okay? So with that being said, we can now discard the belief of thinking, oh, there is only one God. Yahweh is the only God that I worship because this is the only real God, trust me. Or even on the reversed end of the spectrum, Satan is the only God that I worship. Or Baphomet is the only God that I worship because truly, this is the real God. We can discard that belief because both entities are absolutely real and both exist and they have a divine role in how evolution unfolds. But both of these entities are truly connected to the same source. One being more so positive and one being more so negative in its nature. Okay? So this, once again, starts to set you free from how other people perceive spirituality. Most people perceive it in a way of dualism. This is good, therefore it deserves my worship. This is bad, therefore it should be repressed and shunned and fought against. But if you're being honest as you're listening to this, you would recognize within yourself, if it wasn't for the traumatic experiences that you've been through and the circumstances that were adversarial in nature, you wouldn't be the person that you are right now listening to this content. I can guarantee most of you listening right now to this content are here because you've been through traumatic circumstances in your life. So we're starting to see a purpose for dark energy. We're starting to see a purpose for what people call evil, which is not truly evil. It is just a different polarity. It's negative in its nature. It causes challenge. It causes resistance. It builds pressure. It breaks down, but it also forms, and it gives opportunity for new things to come out of it. So clearly, to view spirituality in a dualistic lens is a very false perspective to have. It is not going to serve you by any means to think that's how things actually function. Now, it takes a certain type of person to be honest with themselves and say, you know what? I understand that. I do understand that there's a place for all energies in our universe. I understand that nothing happens for no reason. And I understand that there's a deeper purpose as to why things exist the way that they do. It takes a certain type of person to adopt that mentality because it's much easier to say, oh, this is my God, this is the good God, and your God is bad, or this God is the bad guy. So let's focus on this one. It's so much easier to do that. The ego can configure itself in such a nice, comfortable manner when you have that dualistic way of thinking. But obviously that type of mindset is going to lead to long-term degradation, whether you believe it or not. Because that's not the truth of how the source functions. The source wants you to understand what I'm talking about right now when it comes to dark energy and light energy, and how both are just separate aspects of the same source, and they both play their roles. They both have purpose. For the people on the planet that are the most successful black magicians, what you would consider to be the evil people on the planet, these individuals are not truly evil. I'm one of them. Clearly, you hear what it is that I'm talking about on this video and throughout my public YouTube channel. And I'm sure a lot of you would think, wow, you're not evil at all. You know, you're actually helping me grow. You're helping me evolve. You're giving me wisdom. You're giving me understanding, perspective. All these things that I've learned from my own experience. And once again, that's not evil. For these people that exist like myself, we understand dark energy. We understand the adversary in a completely different light than the average person on the planet. As most people are seeing dualistic avenues of spirituality, the most powerful black magicians on the planet understand the role that we play. We truly, and I'm talking about the highest levels of real black magicians on the planet, the ones that are really pulling the strings, not the ones that you know about, not the ones that you've heard names of, not the Rothschilds, not the Rockefellers, not the royal families, even beyond that, deeper than that, within the same bloodline, but deeper down the family line, down the family tree. You're not going to know their names. Trust me. These individuals understand something that is very different. And I'll speak for myself. What I understand when it comes to dark energy and the negative polarity is that I truly love the world around me. I love the universe. I love every single person that I come into contact with. I want to truly see people reach their highest potential, whether it's through the negative polarity or the positive polarity. But at the same time, I know what my gift is. And my gift is an ability to bring challenge. It's an ability to bring an opposition to the mainstream, in opposition to the general patterns of what people think are real. I bring a certain level of destruction of old beliefs, of beliefs that are specifically no longer serving humanity. And as I bring this energy to the table, although I love humanity, I love every single person that exists truly on that soul and that spirit level, I know that my energy body destroys people. I know that it will and it can destroy people. I intend it to destroy certain types of people with the sole purpose that they can use that destruction to their advantage in the long run. Now, does that always take place? Not all the time. Sometimes the energy is so intense, the person doesn't know how to navigate it. But at the end of the day, everyone is truly responsible for their own life experience, and everyone truly does have the tools to navigate. So if someone doesn't navigate the challenges and the adversary that I influence them with, then ultimately that's up to them and their own higher self. That's up to their own journeying. That's up to their own decision making. Because as I said, we all truly do have the tools. And I understand this. I understand my role. I understand what I do. I understand that there's value in bringing chaos, primal chaos to this planet and allowing it to burn things down, even if that's uncomfortable, even if that's not exciting, even if that's detrimental to certain types of people. I realize on a deep soul level, this is what I'm here to do, and I follow that. As I said, I have love for all people. I truly do. I see the fact that we're all connected to that same source of energy. And because of that, I have love for everyone. But once again, I also know what my role is in soul evolution and how I bring value to not only myself for my personal evolution, but also to the planet and the universe itself. To a degree, I am serving the source by being the devil. I am serving the source by being the adversary. And I have the source within myself as well. So I'm serving the source, and I'm serving that same source that exists within myself. And I promise you, this philosophy that I'm discussing, this mindset that I'm discussing is literally the same mindset that the most powerful black magicians on the planet are embodying within themselves in this moment. This perspective that I'm sharing with you is a Luciferian awareness. This is a real Luciferian awareness. This is not the Luciferian awareness that you learned from somebody on TikTok or something that you saw on some sort of blog post or whatever the case it is. This is a real deal Luciferian awareness that is not mainstream. So when it comes to good and evil, there is no such thing. There is positive and there is negative. There is Christ and there is the Antichrist. Both play their role. Both create a formula for power to evolve. If we lived in a world which was only the Garden of Eden, where there was no sin, there was no adversary, evolution would be moving at a much slower pace. There was a point in time where the polarities didn't exist. This is truly where the story of the Garden of Eden originates from. At some point in time, there was a primal logos that decided evolution needs to speed up. The beings that were incarnate didn't have enough resistance, didn't have enough pressure, didn't have enough challenge to even want to evolve. Things were too comfortable. So at some point in time in our ancient primal past, there was a logos that decided, I am going to introduce the negative polarity. I am going to introduce a different energetic frequency that will challenge the entirety of the species to further evolve. This is where the birth of the tree of knowledge of good and evil came from, with the serpent on the tree truly being Lucifer, who says, hey, you've been living in this positive land for quite a while. You have a positive logos that approves of it, being Yahweh. Well, I've come here. I was sent here by the source itself to give you another choice, to give you another option as to whether you're going to choose the path of the negative polarity. You're going to choose the path of knowledge of good and evil. Not just living in good and being ignorant to what is evil or what could potentially be evil, but choose the path of deep wisdom of knowledge of good and evil, which is literally what I'm explaining in this video, the knowledge of what real good and what real evil is. And this is when the entities in our ancient past decided to make different decisions that led them down a different path, led them into a different polarity. So now we're starting to experiment a mixed species between positively oriented and negatively oriented that are existing together within a third density life experience, a third density planetary sphere, like our planet Earth. When you have positive and negative oriented beings living together, there is accelerated evolution. What decided to introduce the negative polarity was an original primal thought that came from the source itself. Nothing happens that was not first thought of or emanated from or created by the source itself. So the essence of what most people fear and say is ungodly and say is what will damn you to eternal hell is truly things that were simply created by the source itself. So you can see how people get so lost in their own spiritual perspectives and become so rigid when they don't understand what the bigger picture is, when they don't have a real awareness of what the source is all about. And these are things you're really only going to learn from when you're speaking to a high level or a studied occultist. This is the power of the occult. This is why the occult literally controls the world. It's the most advanced and experienced occultists that are literally orchestrating life itself on our planet in the form of manipulation of the matrix itself. It's because these principles are so primal. These principles utter nothing but truth. These are the deepest source principles that we can tap into. And if the majority of the species doesn't know this, it's very unlikely they're going to get to their highest potential. And it's very unlikely that they're going to step into power. And at the end of the day, life is a journey. Evolution is a journey. Power is not just handed to anybody. Real truths are not just handed to everybody. It is a journey. So people need to go through this process of dealing with challenge, dealing with adversary, going through initiation until the point where they've achieved, where they've earned and they have deserved the knowledge that it is that I'm sharing right now. And there is a difference between just receiving the knowledge from a pure communication perspective and just absorbing the information, between actually experiencing it in your real life, actually feeling it and going through it and integrating it as a part of who you are. Okay? So the point of this video was really to give some more awareness and clarity on what the most authentic philosophy truly is that exists. Now, this is just one form of sharing this philosophy that I'm giving you. There are other people that have different forms of this that can also fall along very similar lines. But this is the way that I explain it. And clearly there are things that are falling on me right now. I don't know if you're noticing, but there are these little leaves that are falling behind me as I'm leaving this message. Things are dying. And where there is death, there is rebirth. When there's an end, there's a new beginning. And I don't know if you're watching this and you're paying attention to how the nature around me is showing you that what I'm talking about is very real and very important to understand. Because nature does that. I'm talking about nature itself and what goes beyond nature. Okay? But once again, as I was saying, this is the most authentic philosophy that you can possibly adopt. I promise you. I'm not here to change your mind. I could care less if you adopt this perspective. Because at the end of the day, if you do, it will only serve you. If you don't want to serve you and you don't want to take what it is that I'm saying and at least consider some of these subjects, by all means, continue doing what you're doing. I'm sure you have it all figured out. But if you're someone who is gaining value from these concepts and you're studying it, you're writing it down, you're listening to the video multiple times, congratulations, because this is why I'm making the video in the first place. Okay? It is not God versus the devil. There is a source beyond both what people consider God and the devil that produced evil and good, that produced positive and negative for a purpose. The more you can understand the purpose of the negative charge, of the darker path, the more you can start to live in peace and live in understanding that everything has a purpose. There is nothing that is taking place that is not meant to be. That is what real peace of the mind is. Do you know how hard it is to get to this mindset and how hard it is to get to this perspective? How much mental configuration you have to shift and you have to shed and you have to adopt in order to understand truly what it is that I'm saying? It's a lot. Okay? And it's not easy to hold that in your mind as well, especially when negative things happen to you. Imagine that. You listen to a video like this and you start to grasp some of these things that I'm saying and your mind's starting to open up. You're like, oh my gosh, I never even considered that. Wow, this is like shocking. And then next thing you know, something negative happens to you. Something adversarial takes place in your life. And then you immediately revert back to, oh, that's evil. That's the devil. That's Satan doing this to me. He's the one. He's responsible. You know, I need to put my energy back on God, what I call Yahweh or what I call Jesus or Muhammad, whoever it is to you. I need to put my energy back on this, and then hopefully these negative things won't happen to me anymore. Okay? It's hard to maintain a true balance. And it's hard to truly understand that Satan is just as much the source as Jesus is. They have their roles. They have a different lens of bringing evolution to humanity and bringing evolution to the universe itself. There are people like myself that gravitate more so towards the Satan than the Jesus. That's what's very unique about my channel, and that's how I break down a lot of these secrets. These are real deep occult mysteries that I'm breaking down, that people have to go to years of lessons and classes to understand. Okay? So once again, that is the purpose of this video. Okay? And we'll leave it there right as the sun starts shining. If you enjoyed this video, ladies and gentlemen, come down here and hit the thumbs up button.